at the Krach Institute for Tech Diplomacy at Purdue, we have one singular vision, and that vision is to make sure that technology advances freedom. And so I'm going to start us off with two things today. The first is that vision, and then second, what the Krach Institute is doing together with all of you to ensure that we achieve it. So in a couple weeks, it's going to be 2025, and we'll be 1/4 of the way into the 21st century. And the great thing is, we get a moment right now to assess where we're at, to look at what's before us, and start to think about the story that we want to write for the next 75 years. And I want to talk about the story right now, and why I believe that we have to fundamentally rethink the story that we are telling ourselves in order to successfully create the 21st century that we want. So here's the story. We've emerged from the end of the Cold War in the 20th century through the global war on terror in the first part of this one to what is now known as a great power competition. And in this great power competition, it has become the vernacular and almost an obsession in Washington, D.C. to look to China as our pacing challenge. And the concept of China as our pacing challenge is the subject of many congressional testimonies. It's the basis for our Marine Corps force design. It's the subject of many op-eds and white papers. Think tanks are talking about it. Even China is responding to it. And I believe that the idea of China as our pacing challenge is fundamentally wrong, and it's fundamentally dangerous. And here's two reasons. The first is, when did America decide that we were going to look to China to set our pace? Yes, the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party are very determined and capable adversaries, and they are our most significant threat. But words matter. And when we look to China as our pacing challenge, we're asking our country to follow and to respond and to let somebody else dictate our pace. I've talked about this a little bit over the course of the past year, and I've gotten some feedback. And some have said, but yes, we need a common enemy. That's what rallies us. That's what unifies us. Yes, but more importantly, we need a common vision. And our common vision is that technology creates the safest, freest, and most prosperous era in human civilization. And in our journey to achieve our vision, we will address what China or any other country does along the way. But we're not starting with their vision, and we're not following their pace. We're focused on ours. And I always like to equate things to sports. As Hiro said, my first career was as a student athlete in gymnastics, and I had the pleasure of being on an NCAA championship team, getting to serve twice as team captain. And the difference between championship teams and everybody else is that championship teams play to win. They don't play to not lose. And by looking to China as our pacing challenge, we're asking our country to play to not lose. I was watching the Netflix documentary, The Comeback, about the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. I know, it's good. And they were talking about the Red Sox journey to the World Series for the first time in 86 years. And it's actually a really great analogy because the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry is kind of like a great power competition. And it didn't really feel like it in 2003, though, because the Red Sox hadn't won since 1918. The Yankees had won 26. And then again in 2003, the Red Sox lost to the Yankees yet again, 7th game, 11th inning. It was really devastating. It started to get very frustrating for Boston. And at some point in the documentary, Theo Epstein, who was the general manager of the Red Sox at the time, says, you know, we don't exist in opposition to the Yankees. And only after that point, when the Red Sox start embracing what's special about the Red Sox, what their superpowers are, and they start playing their own game versus worrying about how they were going to beat the Yankees, do they go on to win the World Series in 2004. So just as the Red Sox don't exist in opposition to the Yankees, nor does the United States or the free world exist to react to China. The second reason the idea of China as our pacing challenge is fundamentally wrong is because it's just not true. Take a look at who is setting our pace. SpaceX launched a rocket into space, flew it back down to Earth, and caught it in giant mechanical chopstick arms. That is who is setting our pace. NVIDIA, $3.5 trillion company, generating the chips that are powering the AI revolution. That is who is setting our pace. OpenAI with ChatGPT, defining new boundaries for generative AI in education and business transformation. That is who is setting our pace. Purdue University, at a time when semiconductors are more critical to our national security than ever. Purdue University is the first university to launch a full semiconductor degrees program. And as of this fall, is going to graduate more engineers than any other top university in the country. That is who is setting our pace. So the truth is, our pacing challenge is not China, and it never was. Our pacing challenge is the status quo and our own determination to surpass our own limits of what we think is possible in order to create the safest, freest, and most prosperous future in the 21st century. So our pacing challenge becomes, how many more things can we invent? How many more businesses can we create? How many more diseases can we cure? How many more allies can we forge? How much more innovative can we get? How many more people can we help achieve their full human potential? And we can't answer those questions if we're busy responding to somebody else's pace. We have to be focused on our own. And we're going to use our superpowers of innovation to be able to win the great power competition. And that is the reason why today is so exciting and so special. Because today is all about what this extraordinary group of people, together with all of you, is doing to set the pace and to will the future that we want to create. So what is the Krach Institute doing together with all of you to set the pace? First, we launched the Tech Diplomacy Academy this year. It is the world's first and only online education platform that's training government, business, technology, student, and citizen leaders on critical technologies and the implications on business and our national security. We're training the State Department, the Commerce Department, we're working with NATO, the Navy, a number of growing tech companies. Because making sure that technology advances freedom has to be in all of free world movement. And we're going to make sure we're empowering all of the free world with the knowledge in order to shape the trajectory of technology in our lives. Our goal is to educate millions of people over the next few years, and with your help, we're going to get it done. That is how we are setting the pace. Secondly, our Global Tech Security Commission, we have many of our commissioners here with us today, have published today the principles of trusted tech diplomacy. And it's the foundation for a practical, executable playbook for how we go ensure that technology advances freedom. And this is really important because we're offering a vision, not just about what we must do, what we have to do, what we need to do, but how we're going to do it. And the how is really hard. But it means educating, like what we're doing at the Tech Diplomacy Academy. It means building a network of networks. It means how to create a value proposition in order to attract as many partners as possible. It's very difficult, unglamorous, operational work of how we're going to actually make sure that technology advances freedom. That's how we're setting the pace. And then finally, speaking of how, we're launching today the initiative to develop the Global Trusted Tech Standard. It's called XGTT. You'll hear about that today. But the XGT standard is going to establish a clear framework to define what trusted technology is, to enable frictionless collaboration between trusted partners, and to ultimately accelerate the adoption and the development of trusted technology to safeguard our freedom, our security, and our prosperity. That is how we are setting the pace. And so for the next couple of hours, you're going to hear about all of these things: the Tech Diplomacy Academy, the Global Tech Security Commission, the Global Trusted Tech Standard, and all of the extraordinary ways that we are setting the pace to create a future in which technology advances freedom. That is the story that we get to write and that we are writing in order to shape the 21st century. So I'll end with this. A few days, like I said, it's going to be 2025, will be 1/4 of the way through the 21st century. But 2025 is also very special to me and to my family personally, because it'll be 50 years since the fall of Saigon. It'll be 50 years since my mother left Vietnam to come here. It'll be 50 years since the end of the war where my father served. And when we talk about pace setting, when we talk about creating our own future, I think about the extraordinary things that make this place worth fleeing to, that make this place worth fighting for, and the opportunity and the responsibility and the duty that all of us have to preserve that and to make sure that we preserve it in the 21st century. And it is our time now. And I'm truly honored and I'm truly grateful to get to do that with all of you. Thank you.